which stands for the Palmer Drug Abuse Program. Palmer is the only free substance abuse recovery program for young people in the greater Houston area. This program is for young people and parents to come together to work to solve common problems that are associated with substance abuse. This program is modified to meet the needs of young people by doing a 12-step program that is structured and will relate to so many life issues. The professionals who specialize in working with adolescents and families who are dealing with drug and alcohol abuse provide individual and group counseling sessions on a regular basis. So if you're a person that may be experiencing some alcohol or drug abuse, this is an organization that you want to visit and talk to. You know, if there's something that's happening that you can't just go out and say, Miss Corley's there. Her job is to assist you guys. So if you feel like you're having a problem in your life, that regarding to abuse, she's the person you want to speak with. Mr. Dixon is the project manager for Palmer. He learned about Palmer as a parent and later became an employee of it. He started working at Palmer in 1996 and feels that the Palmer program can really save lives. His insight is to help families grow together by working together and to help young people make healthy decisions. Again, if you are in my class, I always talk about making the right choices. You got a choice to either be right or a choice to be wrong. Again, we want you to make the right choices. Again, prom is coming up. Some of you guys that are seniors that are going to prom have to make a decision for the after prom parties. What are you going to do after the party's over? Did you drink that night? Do you have a plan? Are you going to call your mom to come get you? If you have that type of relationship with your parents, I would suggest that. If not, you better have a designated driver. Or call a cab. Those are your options. But we're not naive. You know this stuff happens, guys. So be smart. Have a plan. Mr. Dixon enjoys working with people. He works with helping build young people's self-esteem up, and he gives support where needed. All right, so I'm going to ask Mr. Dixon to come up and share with you guys, and then he will lead into our next speech.
Hey guys, what's up? What's up? Let's bear with me for a minute. I'm going to have y'all do something. This is going to be like, I'm going to need participation from everybody, including coaches, counselors, teachers, everybody in the room, except for maybe the camera person. Do me a favor, I want you to close your eyes. Okay, close your eyes. Everybody. No peeking. This ain't going to work if you're peeking. Everybody close your eyes. Close your eyes. And wait. Back the person next to you and close your eyes. All right, I'm going to ask a few questions. I'm going to ask a few questions, you guys, and if you hear anything in those questions that is true about you, I want you to raise your hand. Leave your hand up. Is there anybody in this room? I see some people up there without their eyes closed. This isn't going to work. Is there anybody in this room that knows someone that's struggling with drugs or alcohol right now? Leave your hands up. Is there anybody in this room that knows anybody that's being abused? Physically, verbally, sexually? Is there anybody in this? Leave your hands up on every question. Is there anybody in this room that knows somebody that's being bullied? What? Knows somebody that's being bullied? Is there anybody in this room that has a family member that's struggling with drugs or alcohol? Is there anybody in this room that knows someone in a gang? So this is a serious moment right now. Everybody close your eyes. I really need you to close your eyes on this. Is there anybody in this room that knows someone who's died or overdosed with drugs or alcohol? Keep your hands up. Be very still for a minute. Think about this for just a second. Wow. Okay, open your eyes. I gotta tell you guys, man, y'all know so much about each other, you don't even know. I'm amazed. I'm always amazed to see how many people on that last question raised your hand. Think about that. I know somebody that died because they were using drugs or because they were drinking. And maybe some of you didn't even think about this when I asked that question. Do I know anybody who died in the car wreck because the driver was drunk? Wow. Maybe it's good if you did raise your hand, you might raise your hand now if that was the case. Do I know anybody that died of throat cancer because they abused alcohol? Alcoholism and drinking too much alcohol will cause throat cancer. There's a lot of these things and issues that we hear about every day, but we don't know that the cause of it started, like right now, where you guys are at, started at this age. So I'm going to throw out a couple of facts and figures that are a little bit boring, but they're kind of amazing too. There's 23 million people in the United States right now that are dealing with drug addiction or alcoholism. 23 million. That's not people that are using. That's not people that are just like drinking, a couple of drinks or out partying on the weekend. These people are diehard drug addicts or alcoholics. That's a lot. 9 out of 10 of those people started using before the age of 15. 9 out of 10. That's 90%. Yeah. 15% of all the people in the United States will end up with drug or alcohol problem. 15%. So, I don't know how many people think, maybe 100 in here? Around 100? 15 of you in this room right now, and every one of you in this room, of those 15, are probably saying, oh, that'll never happen to me. 15 of you right now will end up with drug treatment, you'll end up in jail, you'll end up dead. If you continue to abuse drugs and alcohol in an addictive way. And now when I say that, let me qualify that. That doesn't mean that any of you in here that that's going to happen to you. There may be none of you. That also means that maybe more of you. It could be 30. I don't know. But I do know this. It's about the choices you make right now that determine what's going to happen to you in a year or two. I got to tell you that one of the stories that just continued every time I talk about this, especially as a parent, when I say this, I just get oohs and ahs and gasps. But one of the most horrendous stories of a person that I worked with was I remember this young person who came in that I was counseling with, who was a full-blown crack addict, who was a full-blown alcoholic, diagnosed alcoholic, who drank every day, smoked crack every day, was missing half the teeth in his mouth because he fell out. His skin was starting to deteriorate. He was having bone problems. He was 10 years old. He was 10 years old. And I got to tell you, the thing that struck me as the most confusing and baffling part about that is when I looked at him and I said, man, do you think that you might be a drug addict, that you might have a problem with this? He goes, part of my mind, he goes, shit, I ain't a drug addict. What are you talking about? You don't know what you're talking about. And I looked at him and I said, dude, you have a mirror in your house. Have you looked at yourself lately? Because I'm telling you, he was in total and complete denial. And that's what this thing does to you. It makes you say to yourself, that ain't me. That ain't going to happen to me. And so I can tell you that the way I know that that's true is because that's what happened to me. When I was in high school and began drinking and using drugs, that was never going to happen to me. I swear. And actually, I promised myself I would never do that because I grew up in an alcoholic home, and I watched somebody go through that. And I saw how devastating it was to that person, who was my father, and I watched him almost kill himself over it, and I promised that I would never be like that. That ain't going to happen to me. And the reality of that is that the things that I didn't know about that I know today, is that because my dad was an alcoholic, I was predisposed for having this problem. We know that. It's kind of like a disease, right? It's kind of like diabetes, right? If you have people in your family tree that have diabetes, and you go to a doctor and you tell the doctor, like, yeah, I have people that in my family that have diabetes, he's going to say, well, you ought to be careful of this, and this. You ought to be watching your sugar intake. people with diabetes can't process their sugar properly. And they're like, oh, that sucks. So that's what we know today, is that when you have somebody in your family that had this, it doesn't mean you have to, but it means that you might have. It means that you have more of a chance of having it than the person next to you who doesn't have this running in the family. So we call that a predisposition or predisposed. And we suggest when we talk to folks, especially at your age like that, you have a choice to make. You know, if you have an uncle, an aunt, grandfather, somebody in your family that suffered from this problem, you have a predisposition. You might want to think about saying yes because everybody else has. You might want to think about it twice because they might not have that same problem predisposition you have, won't have to deal with the same thing. They're saying yes, and you're following along with them. But you don't have the same problem. You don't have the same circumstances they do. You end up at the end of the party drunk and sick. They're walking home laughing at you, and you can't figure out what the hell the problem is. Well, the problem is they're different than you. They don't have this deal, and you don't. So that's what I got about me. Even though I decided that I would never be like that, I caved in. I mean, the peer pressure was too much for me. I traveled around a lot. My dad was in the military. I ended up going to 5 different high schools. 11 different states I lived in, 3 different countries. And I was always a new kid in town, always trying to figure out how to fit in, how to make friends. By the time I got to be a senior in high school, I stopped wanting to make friends because I knew I was going to move. It was getting too painful. But what I did find was I found was 2 people, believe it or not, in my psychology class. 2 people in my psychology class that I saw were always laughing and giggling and making fun. They were funny as hell. I loved them. My wife got on my butt, get high. The teachers, get high. Yeah, I know, it's funny right now. So where that got me was, at the end of the day, they got me living out of a vehicle, dog Aston vehicle with bag close to me. That came from being vice president of the corporation. While I was getting high. You can get high and you can maintain high. That stuff helps you out a lot. So it lies to you and says, I am the solution, I am the answer. But the problem is it's a short-term answer to a long-term solution. It doesn't last. The longer you use it, the worse it gets. And so when I woke up that one day and everybody else was gone, people that loved me and cared for me, when they were no longer supporting me through my drug addiction, I had to look at myself in the mirror and say, what am I going to do now? Who can I go to talk to now? And thank God that at that time I had parents that still loved me. I mean, I was 29 years old. They didn't give up on me. And they allowed me to move back home, get on my feet, and introduced me to a counselor down in Lake Jackson, Texas, who then introduced me to a 12-step program of Alcoholics Anonymous. And since that day, since I saw that counselor, which on June 8th of 1983, I've been clean and sober since. So on June 8th coming up, if I don't get high, I'll have 31 consecutive years of sobriety. And what does that mean? That means I haven't drank any alcohol. I haven't used any mind-changing chemical unless it was prescribed for me since then. And I get people, especially adults, I appreciate that. Especially adults who drink on a regular basis or do it socially, they don't understand. What do you mean you don't? You don't even take one drink? Hell no. You want to sit down for a minute? Let me tell you a story. then you might understand. I'm telling you guys, I'd rather jump in front of a moving train than to drink alcohol or use drugs. And the other part is I don't need to because I have a solution that really works. It doesn't work for a short period of time. It doesn't lie to me and say it's going to work and then later on fail me because it doesn't work. It doesn't do that. And that solution is I let other people in my life help me get through the problems that I have today. It's that I can ask for help, and I can explain and I can tell other people that I'm struggling and having trouble without worrying about the fact that they're really going to get to know me. It's that I don't have to do something because you do it, just so that you'll like me. Today, the answer to all my problems is to turn my life over to the care of somebody who can help me out through my struggle. I don't have to do this alone, and neither do you. If you're running with a crowd of people that are leading you down a path that you know inside, you know, right? This ain't gonna be good for me. I've seen what happens to other people, but you don't know how to say no. Go talk to somebody who's been through it, who can help you to get out of that situation. People like these guys right here, who you might see as an authority figure and an adult who just want to run your life, I'm guaranteeing you there's a million things these guys can do with their life other than what they're doing right now. A lot of other things. But what they choose to do is they choose to be in here and teach young folks like you ways that you can remain healthy and have a happy existence. And I want you guys to clap for that, because these guys are awesome. So, having said that about myself, I do that so that I can qualify you guys and let you know that even though I'm in administration for this drug abuse program, it's been around, for 43 years. We're not brand new. We know the deal. I recognize the fact that it's really the youth in the program that help to take care of themselves. But like the cornerstone behind recovery in our program and that program is kids working with kids. We don't run the show. We're there to help if they want us to. We're available. They know where we're at. We can give our experience, strength, and hope, and then we guide them in a direction that we think might help. But they actually run the show. They run their meetings. They have their own leadership of the group. They figure out their own social functions that they want to hang out and do on the weekends. They hang out with each other. They do a lot of things to help each other get through things. And that's the real solution. So I recognize the power of the group as the kids. So I want to turn this over to a young man that has been around our program for several years now. He and his family are good friends of mine. I love this dude a lot. And I would thank you very much for giving him the same respect that you've given me up to this point. I want to let you guys know, I know that y'all have to be here. I know that y'all weren't given the choice to be in this assembly, and I respect that, and I appreciate that. So if you would, for a few more minutes, let's give Ben the same attention. Ben, come on.
Hi, I'm Ben. Nice to meet y'all. I'm my brother. So I guess I'll start with, I'm 2.5 years sober, and I came into the DAP a little over 3 years ago. So I didn't make it right away. But I kind of want to bounce off what Bruce said as far as like the family and stuff like that. My grandpa's currently dying of alcoholism. He's been in and out of the hospital, near death several times. It's disgusting to watch. My dad was a cocaine addict when he was in college. My great-grandma killed herself with prescription pills. My uncle killed himself with prescription pills. I didn't recognize any of that when I started getting high. I started getting high in 7th grade when I was 12 years old. And middle school was the time of my life. Getting high every day was a lot of fun. And I'm sure that a lot of people in here can relate to that. And it is fun. And yeah, when I got into high school, freshman year, I got introduced into a lot of other stuff. And I don't know, it just went downhill when I got into high school. Got introduced into ecstasy, started drinking in high school too. And it stopped becoming, the freshman year, it stopped becoming something that was fun to do and became something that I had to do if I wanted to be happy at any point in my life. I started losing friends, started losing relationships, because that's all I wanted to do. And the only people that I wanted to associate with were people that wanted to do the same thing I was doing. So I had a lot of friends that were probably dope fiends too, and I can't say that any of them are sober today. Towards the end of my freshman year, I got arrested for intent to distribute, possession, and almost caught an assault charge. I was high at the time. And I ended up going to an alternative school. My parents were going through a divorce at the time, and I didn't know what else to do besides find an escape plan. I mean, just find a way out. So I was still getting high, I was still getting drunk, and when I wasn't high or drunk, I was thinking of getting high. I was thinking about getting drunk, and yeah, I don't know. It took over my life. I became obsessed with being. Can I swear? Is that cool? Okay. I'm just gonna say it's a yes. I became obsessed with getting fucked up all the time, and that's all I wanted to do was get fucked up. And because when I wasn't that, I wasn't happy with the way my life had been going. I don't know. I mean, when I looked in the mirror, I didn't recognize myself. And my parents were going through this divorce, and I was in an alternative school. And I took the time that I was in this alternative school to continue getting high. But when school ended, so that I wouldn't have to go back to this alternative school, I manipulated my parents to allowing us to move to Illinois, which is where like some of my other family lives. That may sound a little confusing, but in my head, I would sit with myself at night and think that if I wanted to stop getting drunk, if I wanted to stop getting high, there was no way I was going to do it in Houston. And there was no way I would be able to stop hanging out with my friends, to stop doing what I was doing. So it might have made sense to leave and go somewhere else. So I sat with myself and I gathered all of my drugs and alcohol in my room and I just sat there and talked to myself and thought, you know, this is the end, this is it. And I got smashed that night. And the next morning I threw away whatever else I had and I moved to Illinois. I got there and it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. I was living in my grandpa's basement, who, like I said earlier, was dying of alcoholism. And I got drunk the first night that I was there, after promising myself that I wouldn't get drunk again. I was supposed to be going to this high school for about a month that I was living there. And I think I went 2 or 3 days. And instead just stayed in this basement that I was living in and got drunk. And it got to a point where it just didn't make sense to live there anymore because I wasn't happy, you know, just like I was in Houston. I missed my brother and sister, I missed my mom. I was just up there with my dad. So they found drugs on me, they found alcohol on me. I got arrested with drugs and got out of it every time. So my parents didn't know, and my friend's parents had caught him several times, and they were trying to get him soberized, and I didn't do hard drugs. I mean, I was not a meth addict, like I wasn't a heroin addict. Like, all I did was the stuff that you probably all heard of. And I was still getting drunk, and I said, yeah, like, when do you want to go get fucked up? Like, let's go now. And he said no. He said, if you want to like hang out, we can, but I'm not going to chill with you if you're still getting messed up. And but I understand that there's also a possibility that nobody will. But I just want you to know that there's another way, and you don't have to get high or drunk. And I know that it may seem fun to smoke weed or to like get drunk, and the idea might be that it like doesn't do anything bad to you, like weed is harmless and it's God's herb and all that bullshit, but it's like not true. Like I said, weed was the first thing I ever did, and it brought me down the path that I was on. And so, yeah, I mean, I'll end with that I hope that somebody heard what I was trying to say, and I appreciate everybody who listened to me talk, because I know that all I can do when I hear people come up is talk shit. So I appreciate y'all listening to me and being respectful, and y'all.
All right, guys, first of all, I want to thank you for being a wonderful audience. Now, if there's something that you guys need to maybe get off your chest, or if you have questions, by all means, don't hesitate to deal with Ms. Corley or myself. If we don't know the answers, hold on guys, we'll let you go here in a little bit. If we don't know the answers, we will help you find the answers, okay? But again, I appreciate you. When you go out this door, Ms. Corley's going to give you a little gift. Please go to your 7th period class. Thank you for being here.